Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing the new makeup releases for the past month. So I am filming this near the end of March. We're not quite at the end, but overall we're going to be going over things that have released or have been announced in the month of March of 2023. I'm going to be giving my opinions. This is kind of me talking myself out of buying things. I am currently on a controlled buy, and I'll link my video up in the cards and down below to explain how I'm doing my beauty budget this year. But otherwise, let's go ahead and start looking at the new releases. Please forgive my hair. I'm dyeing it tonight, and so I don't have any product in it. I washed it last night, so it's frizzy, it's curly. I brushed out my curls, and so my hair is just doing its own thing. I pinned it back the best I could, but let's focus on the new releases and not this poofy mess on my head. But I am going to be reading from Trend Mood 1. I always have her Instagram linked down below. But let's go ahead and look at the first thing that pops up is a new Maybelline mascara, and I have my holy grail mascaras that I love using, and I want to branch out a little bit. The drugstore has kind of let me down a lot. I have oily eyelids, and so I have to be very, very particular about my mascaras because otherwise they will kind of transfer or bleed onto my brow bone once my lids get oily or if I go outside and sweat. So the drugstore has kind of let me down with mascaras, but this one really does look nice. It's the kind of brush that I like. It adds length, which I like. I want to try a drugstore mascara sometime this year. Not the telescopic, because I don't need to be poking myself in the eye. I do that enough whenever I put on mascara. But if you have a favorite drugstore mascara, drop it down below and let me know what I should try. Essence is coming out with a spring collection. It looks like they have kind of like a dual-sided ombre blush, a couple lip products, a sponge, and a eyeshadow palette. It also looks like they have one of those like clay ball rollers that absorb oil. Even though I'm oily, I'm fine with using blotting papers and then also just using powder. The lip products actually look really, really cute. Um, I've been burned too many times before with drugstore sponges, so I'm going to just stick with my regular ones. The palette is pretty with those pops of color, but again, it's not anything that I don't already have in my collection, so I can pass over this. But if I was to pick up something, I would pick up one of those lip products because they do look beautiful. ColourPop released a Bloom On collection, which looks like there's like a heavy petal eyeshadow palette. Then, of course, they come out with blushes and lip products, and you know how ColourPop is with their collections. Again, it's a very pretty palette, but these are all colors that I have, and I think this is a problem that I'm going to end up running into a lot, that there is going to have to be either an eyeshadow from a brand that I am a true fan of, that I would buy the palette regardless of the color story because of my collector's mentality, but oh, it just started raining. So I don't know if my editing will kind of take the background noise out, but it's been drizzling all day and it just started raining. But I think with ColourPop, their formula is nice, but it's not my favorite. So I don't feel like I need every collection from them, especially because a lot of things seem to repeat themselves. So this collection is going to be a pass for me, even though it does look like a beautiful color story. Fenty Skin came out with a jelly oil makeup melting cleanser. I do double cleanse every night to take my makeup off, and this does look like a very cool product. Also, the packaging is nice. You press like a button at the top and it releases the product. So I feel like at this point I kind of have my holy grails and I'm not interested in necessarily trying something different. Plus, I've kind of come to terms with I like cleansing balms more than jellies or anything that comes in a tube. So this does look like a really neat product. It has some good call outs with the ingredients, but this is something that I can skip because number one, I have my holy grails, and if I'm going to buy a high-end kind of like balmy or jelly cleanser, then I'm going to just stick with my Clinique. Dior does know how to get us with packaging. They have some limited edition lipstick cases in shades of pink and shades of white. Um, very, very beautiful for spring. And again, I'm interested in Dior lip products, and there's certain things that I will splurge on. But again, I just don't feel right now with how I'm looking at my budget throughout the year, and also with the amount of lip products that I have in my collection right now. I don't feel like I would need to add anything, but if I was feeling splurgy, this would be something that would be right up my alley because, again, I love the packaging. Iconic London has rollerball liquid illuminators, and I'm a little bit confused by this because I kind of feel like if you're taking something with a rollerball and putting it onto your face after you have a full face on, it's just going to pull your makeup up. Now, I can see this being nice for like kind of drawing on the body and blending out, or even taking your finger and rubbing it on the rollerball and then tapping it out. Um, I don't really get along really well with cream or liquid illuminators, especially because I have oily skin, so I powder my whole face. So I typically don't go for something that is liquid. Also, Iconic London's prices seem to be kind of high, and I don't know if this is a brand that is necessarily popular in other parts of the world, but I don't hear a whole lot of people talking about this brand, at least in my corner of YouTube that I kind of watch. But overall, it just kind of is this something that we necessarily needed? Versus putting it in like a pump type form or even a doe foot form that would kind of go along more to what is popular right now for the liquid illuminators. MAC has another collection, and again, the packaging is beautiful. There's a face palette that is interesting, but I just feel like face palettes are not necessarily for me. I go through bronzers relatively quickly, but I don't go through blushes. So if I ended up with a face palette that had a bronzer in it, I'm feeling like I would use that up and then not get a whole lot of use out of the other products. The eyeshadow palette is interesting. This has a little bit more pops of color. I know my complaint about the last MAC collection was that it was very subdued and icy. And this one is pretty, but again, it has blue. It's neutrals with two pops of blue, which again, I feel like we've seen. So, plus this color story doesn't feel cohesive for me. I don't know. Let's just say this MAC collection is not for me. Oh, the Too Faced Spritz palette. So, for some reason, this palette keeps calling my name. I feel like I can pass it up. I feel like I have the majority of those colors already in my collection. Plus, it does have the blues and then the kind of marbled black in it that I would probably not get a whole lot of use out of, even though I'm wearing blue eyeshadow today, but that's only because I rolled all 21 shades of blue eyeshadow that I have in my collection. I rolled those into my deck of panning. I'll put my most recent update in the cards, but I am trying to use all 21 of my blue eyeshadows, so I was able to put 2 of those shadows on my eyes today. But otherwise, I don't really gravitate towards my blues a whole lot. But I think with these Too Faced palettes, especially when they put it back into the tin packaging, I think that it is this collector's mentality that having multiple palettes of the same shape and size and kind of them all like neatly stacked together, I like that. And so that would probably be the only reason that I would pick this up. Now, if this goes on sale, like a lot of the Too Faced palettes, they end up going on sale for 50% off within about a year of their release. If this does go 50% off, I would greatly consider picking this one up. Milk Makeup is coming out with a matte setting spray, and the things from Milk do kind of like call to me. They're very aesthetically pleasing. I've tried the bronzer stick, the blush stick, the primer, things like that. I just don't feel like right now I put other products on my face to keep myself matte, that I don't feel like I necessarily need a matte setting spray on top of it, since typically I am trying to put a little bit more glow and dew back onto my face with my setting sprays. So while the dual phase, like the gripping setting spray, I'd be interested in trying that one, but I think this one I can pass over. Charlotte Tilbury has the Magic Body Cream, and I just scrolled down to see how much they want for body lotion, and it's $65 for a tube. So, easy pass. So, Catrice has done more collabs with Disney, and it says they're in Europe. I'm not sure if this collection is coming to the US, but it looks like there's products with the Jungle Book and with Lion King. And those are two of my favorite movies from Disney. But again, with these bigger collections, I don't feel like there's anything that I would necessarily need. The face palettes from the Jungle Book side, they're pretty, but again, face palettes I don't get a whole lot of use out of. The color stories for the eyeshadows, I have those, and Catrice's formula, I don't need larger palettes from them. There are blushes that are in the Lion King collection that do look adorable. So if I was to pick up anything from this collection, it would probably be a blush. I have enough blushes. I have all the colors that I would need. But again, this is something that I would strictly be purchasing this, well, for the product, but also for the packaging as merch. And that's just something that I would have to be okay with. So if this does come to the US, I would be very interested in looking at some of those blushes. It Cosmetics has a new concealer that has one of like the sponge tips in it that you can use to dab out if you want. I don't necessarily need to use a sponge tip attached to my concealer. Plus, I know a lot of people talk about how would you clean it. But I don't feel right now that I would need to try a concealer from It Cosmetics. I'm interested to see maybe some other reviews on it to see, because it says bye bye dark spots, and I do get hormonal acne with which then leaves dark marks on my face. So I typically am looking for a fuller coverage spot concealer. Right now I'm using the NARS Soft Matte in the pot. I'm using that one right now. But if this was something that actually had decent coverage for covering darker spots, or maybe this has some, oh, it has some skincare ingredients in it that apparently is supposed to lighten the dark spots as you use it. So maybe I'm talking myself into this, but again, this is not something that I would want to purchase full price. Let me click into this and see how much it is. $30 for a concealer. So I would want to either use a coupon or a discount code or something to try this out, but I would not try it out for full price. NARS is coming out with another collection, and if it isn't an Orgasm collection, then it is a Laguna collection. So we already got the Orgasm collection earlier on in the year, so now we have a Laguna collection. So I really do like the Laguna bronzer. I actually have that in my loves list, that would be a higher end bronzer that I would consider repurchasing. But overall, these little eyeshadow like quads, nothing really calls to me. They are all shimmers, and I'm not a one shadow type look person. So without being able to create a cohesive look with these palettes, I can go ahead and I can skip these. Stila came out with these lip stain pens, and it's an interesting shape. I'll put it up here, what the actual like felt tip of the pen looks like. It's an interesting design, and like you can line with it and then fill in with it. I've not really jumped onto the lip stain trend. It's not necessarily something that I feel like I need in my collection. If I'm going out of the house, I don't necessarily need a long-lasting lipstick. I don't mind reapplying throughout my outing. And I work from home, so I'm not necessarily like worried about my lip color staying all day. And And the colors lean very, very pink, and there's a couple that kind of look like repeats. And so this is something that I can skip for myself, but really the design I don't feel is something that we've seen before, so very innovative. Maybelline is coming out with a Super Stay skin tint, and so their Super Stay line, of course, is supposed to be long wearing, full coverage, but now with a skin tint, I'm guessing less coverage, but I wonder about, because it says 24-hour skin tint, and what I love about claims is they say up to 24-hour wear. And I understand that they have to say certain things for legal reasons, but up to 24-hour wear doesn't mean that it's going to last 24 hours. If you think to up to, that could be anywhere from 1 hour to 24 hours. It is up to. Um, so the claims are kind of interesting. I would want to see reviews on this before I would go out and purchase it. I have been dabbling in some lighter coverage foundations on the weekends when I'm not necessarily going to be on camera for work. But this does seem interesting. I'm not a big fan of the dropper bottle form. So while I do want to try a new drugstore foundation sometime this year, I don't think that this is going to be it. So It Cosmetics is coming out with a superhero waterproof mascara. And superhero used to be one of my holy grails. I picked up a tube of it during the last 21 Days of Beauty last year. And I just finished using it. You're going to see it in my empties and my buys and buys. But it's not what I thought it was anymore. Like, I've changed my mind about that mascara. And it wasn't even that the mascara was old, because I bought it last September and then I opened it at the beginning of the year. So it's not like it's old and it sat around in my collection for years, but it doesn't give me the same look that I want now out of my mascara. So not only that, but I don't necessarily go towards waterproof mascaras, even though, again, oily lids, a lot of mascaras transfer up onto my brow bone. For me, waterproof doesn't necessarily help if it's the oil that is breaking down the mascara. So it's not necessarily water that's doing it, it's the oil coming from my skin. So the color of the tube is cool. I like that kind of electric blue, but otherwise I can skip over this one. So Kayali is coming out with a new fragrance, and this is their Yummy Pistachio Gelato fragrance. So we were down by a Sephora this past weekend, and I walked in to try to see if they had this, and they did not have this out. I wanted to smell it in stores, but this is already in my loves list. This is already kind of like positioned in my cart for the VIB sale. I really wanted to try to smell it before I bought it, but I feel like this is going to just be a blind buy for me as long as it's available whenever my tier for Sephora opens up. But I'm just going to buy the travel size, the $25 one, but I love the smell of pistachio, and especially if this has a little, like, I think of pistachio gelato, which it has a little bit of that creaminess, a little bit of that vanilla in it. So I am willing to do a blind buy for this one. So this is definitely going in my cart. The Sephora sale for me will start on April 18th because I am the middle tier at Sephora. So if this is still in stock on the 18th of April, this will be going in my cart. So Rare Beauty came out with a new shade in their eyeshadow palettes. I have not tried Rare Beauty's eyeshadows, again, because I feel like these are colors I already have, and the biggest pan in the middle is a glitter shade, and that's not necessarily my jam and what I go for. I do want to try some more things from Rare Beauty this year, so if you have a favorite from Rare, go ahead and drop it down below. Selena Gomez seems like the sweetest person in the world, and I love the message behind her brand. So definitely this is something I want to try more from the brand, but not necessarily the eyeshadows. So the next post after that is Rare Beauty also, but this is more shades of the bronzer stick and some more shades of the liquid blushes. I did hear a lot of people complaining about the bronzer shades. Before she came out with these new shades, the lightest was very orange. And so I think it looks like here that she is coming out with a more cool toned shade. Let me see if I can get to what we're looking at. So yeah, looks like there's a shade called Bright Side that is more of a cool tone type shade, and I'll pop the swatches up here that she has, that Trendmood has up on her page. So that shade Bright Side kind of does look like the shade that I like to use as far as cream contour or cream bronzer. So this might be something I would consider picking up. I know a lot of people love the bronzer stick. Too Faced has a new foundation, so this is the Born This Way Healthy Glow, which I remember reading somewhere that different products have to be named different things outside of the United States. Like they can't put healthy on a product that has no like health benefits. If you're from like Canada or the UK, tell me if that's right or not, because I remember the Physicians Formula Healthy Foundation, they had to change the name of that. And then there was the CoverGirl like Healthy Elixir Foundation. They had to take healthy. So like a foundation isn't a health product, and so they can't have the name. But this looks like the same packaging as the Dior Backstage Foundation. I don't, let me see how much do they want? Do they have a price on this? $42. So about the same price as the Dior Foundation. So I would see if it had like the same coverage. I think this is a lighter coverage product. It does have SPF 30, but always use sunscreen. Don't rely on your sunscreen in your foundation. So this is interesting. I do like having a more, hydrating base. But again, with the coverage that I like, I'm not sure that this would give me the coverage that I need. It's raining again. So I'm really curious if the sound of the rain is going to come through. But Callie Ray has come out with an eye and face palette. I just watched a review on this that Emily Noel did, and I think that this is very on brand for what I think Callie Ray is trying to put across. So is it something that I need? No, the shades are very bland, and the blush is something that I probably already have a blush shade. So, but I do feel like that this is very on brand for Callie Ray. I actually have the Callie Ray Come Hell or High Water mascara on my top lashes today. I am enjoying that. It's a tubing formula, and so I am liking that. And there are a couple other things that I wouldn't mind trying from Callie Ray, but again, this is something that I can easily skip over. ColourPop is coming out with singles for a bunch of their pressed items. So pressed bronzers, blushes, and highlights. And they're selling them in the clear packaging because I'm guessing these are going to be going into Targets, and that you can't have testers in Target. So I have tried a pressed bronzer from ColourPop before, and I ended up decluttering it. I didn't really like it. I do have a pressed blush from ColourPop, and I do like it, but I don't think that I need any more. And I've never tried any of their pressed highlighters. But for right now, I don't feel like I need any other highlighters. It's great that they're coming out with these and kind of keeping them in their regular collection. ColourPop is so quick to just turn over things that I feel like if we end up getting something and we love it, we can't repurchase it, or we can't tell a friend to say, oh my goodness, go out and get this here. So I'm glad that they're keeping things in a permanent collection. But again, this is not anything that I need to bring into my stash. Pat McGrath is coming out with more lipsticks in the like Bridgerton packaging. So I don't know if she just had extra packaging laying around, or if she decided just to bring regular shades out in the same packaging. But I remember hearing so many complaints about how cheap the packaging felt for the price of her lipsticks. I did end up getting a Pat McGrath lipstick in my FabFitFun, and I do agree that the packaging feels very cheap for the retail price of these lipsticks. Now, I think the formula is beautiful. I love the formula, but I just feel like the packaging should be a little bit more elevated. Um, just think about the packaging from the Marc Jacobs old lipsticks. Like, it was heavy, it was weighted, it was magnetic, it felt good in your hand. Where you get a Pat McGrath lipstick and it feels, the packaging just feels cheap. And I just feel like they could do a little bit better with that, especially for the price. Too Faced has lip injection lip liners. I'm guessing it's, I don't like the lip injection gloss. It burns too much. So just having it burn just around the outside of my lips, no thank you. Plus, bless it, I think I've been working on the ColourPop lip liner since August of last year, and I'm probably going to finish it up next month. And I have 2 more ColourPop lip liners, so I have 2 years worth of lip liner in my collection. So this is not anything that I would need to bring in. Plus, I really don't want that plumping sensation, especially just around the outside. I feel like that is just asking for a reaction on the outside of your lips. Tarte has highlighters in the cream tube formula with the little puffs at the end. Again, I'm not a huge fan of liquid highlighters, so I can pass on those. But again, the shades do look beautiful. If I was to pick one up, I'd probably go with the Pearl Glow, which is the lightest, because I can be pale as paper. And so I wouldn't need anything darker than that. Um, I don't know if I would ever try anything in this packaging, which is the tube with the puff on top. I just watched a video from Taylor Wynn where she like accidentally squeezed out like half of the product out of her Charlotte Tilbury contour stick. And I just don't feel like this packaging is the most conducive to not getting everywhere and wasting product. Say has a foundation, and let me see, this is the Glowy Super Skin Lightweight Hydro Bounce Serum Foundation, because we need to make names long as possible. Say is another brand that I'm kind of interested in. I don't feel like this foundation is for my skin type because I'm oily. I'm in this hard place of I will be 40 sooner than I realize, sooner than I'm really prepared for. I'll be 40. So I do have wrinkles, I do have smile lines, I do have larger pores from having oily skin. So I know that a matte base is not necessarily the best for my skin features, but also I can't have my makeup just like slicking off my face. So being oily and also aging kind of, it contradicts itself, I feel like, for myself. So while this does seem very appealing, like I love the idea of something just like hydrating and bouncy and just like beautiful on the skin, I don't feel like this is going to be for my skin type. Of course, the 21 Days of Beauty are going on, and I actually just got my box in the mail. I did order one thing, and that will be in my buys and buys. And again, the Sephora VIB sale is coming up. It starts, I think, the 11th of April for Rouge members, and then again, 14th? The 14th for Rouge. And then, like I said, my tier starts on the 18th. And so I already have stuff in my cart, but let me know, did you shop the 21 Days of Beauty? What did you think about it? There was some things that I know were more hyped products, but not necessarily anything I needed to bring into my collection. But did you pick anything up? Tell me about your shopping experience with 21 Days of Beauty. NARS has another release, and they're the slim lipsticks. So this is the Afterglow Sensual Shine Hydrating Lipsticks. They look beautiful. NARS does packaging very, very well. I These are something that I would like, but again, at $32, I feel like we can get something very similar at a drugstore price. So if I was to pick something up like this, number one, it would be on sale. And number two, it would be because I want a NARS product. Not necessarily because I feel like this type of like hydrating shiny lipstick can't be replicated at a lower price, but I would have to say, yes, I want to spend $32 on this lipstick. So this is something that's very intriguing. I'll be interested to see them in stores whenever they come in so that I can look at some of the shades and see if there's be anything that I would be interested in. Lawless has a new collection with one of their smaller palettes and then two new shades of the Forget the Filler gloss. The palette looks beautiful, and I'm a sucker for purples, but it's very pastel leaning, and so that to me translates to ashy. And again, even on my skin tone, I just feel like it would be very ashy and very light. And after going through all of my palettes to look at the like blues in my palettes, I feel like I already have these colors, so the palette is not anything that I would need. The Forget the Filler glosses, they look beautiful in those purple shades. I do have a Forget the Filler in my loves list, and I'm not going to pick it up this VIB sale, but I'm going to pick it up next VIB sale after I use up some other glosses in my collection. And so I will end up buying one of the Forget the Fillers this year, just not right now. And I don't believe I will pick up any of these colors. They're too cool toned and too light for me. But overall, I am super excited about being able to try that formula later on this year. Give Beauty is coming out with some, it looks like some liquid eyeshadows and then some eye pencils. Everything looks to be very neutral shades as far as the eye pencils, so not anything I would necessarily need. And I'm not one to use liquid shadows, so this is something that I can pass over. Have you guys fallen in love with anything from Give Beauty? Is there anything that should be on my radar? I know, of course, Gwen Stefani's signature look is that red lip, and I do not wear red lips, and so that's kind of like out for me. But if there's anything else that is kind of just like your standout product from Give Beauty, let me know down below. Urban Decay is coming out with some liquid liners, and Urban Decay makes my favorite formula for the sharpener pencils for liners, the 24-hour glide-on liners. And I love that they did, am I going to say the word right? Ergonomic designs for the pencils. And so it is really interesting the way that it's shaped. They have some really cool colors. I'm trying to pan 2 liquid liners this year, and so there's not anything that I would need to bring into my collection. Plus, I feel like I have either eyeshadows that I could use for these colors if I really wanted, or I have my regular 24/7 glide-on pencils that I can use if I need a pop of color in my eyeliner. But again, great product design. Really interesting. Burberry is jumping on the bandwagon of being another luxury brand making a foundation. What did we have last time? We had like a Guerlain, we had a Valentino, we had a Gucci, and now we have a Burberry foundation. Again, this is not anything that I would need. $60 for a foundation. I can either buy 6 drugstore foundations or 2 high-end foundations for that. So this is something that I can, very easily pass over. But again, I'd be interested to look at reviews to see what other people are thinking about this $60 foundation. Huda Beauty's Glow-Wish brand is coming out with a concealer. Usually the Glow-Wish products are very glowy. Like some people are saying almost obnoxiously glowy. So again, oily skin. I'd be interested to see what people are saying about it. I know in the past Huda Beauty has had very full coverage products. I think Glow-Wish they're kind of the lighter coverage sister brand. But I would be interested to see what people are saying about this because again, I have a lot of under eye wrinkles. They're not going away. So if there was a product that would bring a little bit more hydration and kind of brightness to that area, this is something that I would be interested in. I am more likely to try a high-end concealer just because on my base products, I really need them to hold up. So this is intriguing, but again, I would have to look at some reviews to see if it would be appropriate for my skin type. Pat McGrath is going to be releasing bronzers, and it looks like she has 8 shades in the line, and she's doing some other things in the collection, a blush, a quad, lip pencil, lipstick, and lip gloss. The bronzers do seem beautiful. I'm not sure what shade would be appropriate for me. I do like to go a little bit deeper with my bronzers. I don't necessarily like having a bronzer that doesn't look like it's there. So the lightest shade is the Naked Desire, and then after that is Nude Honey. So between those two, I'm not sure which one would be appropriate for my skin, but overall, I'd probably want to go in store and swatch these and kind of see what they look like. But it's exciting that she's coming out with bronzers. I'm curious, do we have a price yet? $39. So of course, I know that if I'm buying a Pat McGrath product, I'm going to pay more money. Like, I have to accept that. So this is something that I would be interested in trying. Like I said, I have the Laguna one on my loves list, and that's kind of equivalent. I might want to compare like the how many grams are in the product. I do know with the Pat McGrath blushes, they are very firmly pressed. And so you really have to scrub your brush in there to kind of get pigment. So with the bronzers kind of having that same imprint, and just I think the way that she formulates her powders, I would be interested to see if these are hard pressed like her blushes. If they are that hard pressed that it's kind of hard to get product up, this might be something that I can skip over. But again, I would be interested to be able to like feel the powders in store and also look at some reviews. But I am a sucker for certain things in Pat McGrath, and I kind of have to hold myself back. But this would be something that's kind of on my radar. Fenty Beauty is coming out with a volumizing mascara. I'm trying to remember, has Fenty Beauty ever had a mascara, or is this their first one? I can't remember. But, I mean, for the right price, I may consider trying this. Again, I'd want to see reviews about smudging and people with oily lids. I think that when you do have oily lids, you have to be so careful with mascaras, because throwing out a $27, $30 mascara because it smudges, like, that would hurt my heart. And so this is going to be interesting. Oh, it's only $19. I do like volumizing mascaras. I'd be interested to see what the wand looks like. And so this one is releasing in 2 days. So I'm curious to see what other information we're going to get about this mascara. This one's interesting. Shiseido is coming out with these like pressed powders that have the different shades in them, and it looks really interesting, and I guess I kind of understand color theory and how you mix all these and they create a certain shade. This, I almost feel like it'd be too pretty to use, and I don't necessarily want makeup that's too pretty to use. I don't think that necessarily this is a powder illuminator with those shades in it. That's so weird. Again, I want to see somebody like use this and swatch it and like show how this works. It's very interesting. So again, 10 out of 10 for innovative, pretty makeup, but not necessarily something that I would want to bring into my collection. ColourPop is coming out with another collection with the kind of Avatar, I guess, world. And so this is the Legends of Korra. I've never watched any of the series. I did not pick up anything from the Last Airbender collection, and so this is not something that I would be interested in. The inside of the palette, again, I hate to say this, but like certain things from ColourPop are kind of looking like the same thing. And it's not necessarily a color story that I'm interested in. So again, this is something that if you're into this genre of, I don't even know what to call it. I don't want to call it genre of entertainment, but if you like this show, if you're into the Last Airbender and Legends of Korra kind of realm, then this might be something cool for you to get as merch. But otherwise, this is something that I can skip over. I have no connection to the IP. Benefit is re-releasing their eyebrow powders, and they used to have them in the tins that had the two colors, so that you could have like a lighter front of your brow and then the darker back. Now they're just releasing the powders, just the single shades, and in different compacts. I'm not necessarily a big powder brow person, so this is something that I feel like I can skip over. But I think that if you want a brow product that will last you forever and you won't need to buy brow products for like 6 years, this might be something up your alley. And they do have a good range of shades. Benefit does really good with having a range of shades for brow products. Essence has a pastel palette. It's ready for a ride palette. I guess like a carnival theme. Not anything that I need. I have pastels and palettes and I have these colors. But again, if you are kind of starting out your eyeshadow collection and these colors speak to you, Essence is very affordable. And so they've been doing relatively well with some of their formulas. And so this might be something that is up somebody's alley if you don't already have shades like that in your collection. This was a busy month, my goodness. But a few days ago, Angelica Niefkes uh, announced that she is starting her own brand. So she started Singe Beauty, and she's coming out with brushes as her first launch. They are synthetic brushes, so they're cruelty free and vegan. I watched her launch video that she did her live a couple days ago, and the brush shapes are amazing. Like, I totally get it. I see where she's coming from with all these shapes. This is not necessarily something that I would want to pick up right away. I might want to pick up some of these once they become available as singles. She released a 5 brush set and it's like $55. So that's what, $11 a brush? That is fantastic. Like, if these are of the quality that we would expect from her, then $11 a brush is a steal. And so when these become available for individual sale, I would consider picking some of these up. Makeup by Mario is releasing a shiny lip product, but instead of in the like twist up bombs that he does, it's in a doe foot formula. I just feel like these would travel all over my face. Anytime that I eat, because of, I guess, the way that my lip or my chin is shaped on my face, anytime I eat, I have to be really careful about my bottom lip transferring product onto my chin. And so usually before I eat, like I wipe all of my lip product off the bottom of my lip. But with this, again, I just feel like this would get everywhere. So this is not going to be for me. But again, it seems like a lot of people are loving the products by Makeup by Mario. The color range of the shades looks beautiful. But overall, this is not something that I need to bring into my collection. Lawless has some powders coming out. So the Skin Smoothing Talc Free Perfecting Powder. Um, I'm not necessarily a pressed powder fan. I do like to keep one in my collection for either blotting or for setting my under eyes. I do want to try the CoverGirl pressed powder next. So this is something that I can skip over, but if you're looking for a talc-free powder, a lot of people tend to really love the Lawless products. Nomad Cosmetics has come out with a new palette. They have been sneaking like clues and hints and dropping things on their Instagram, and they have finally released or shown the palette and the color story. So this is like the European Royals collection, and so I want to try something from Nomad, but a lot of their color stories seem to be similar. It's a condensed rainbow palette, and so that typically has blues in it. And again, I'll say blues are not my thing. The Hudson Valley palette I was interested in, but it only had 3 shimmers, and so I like more shimmers than mattes, so that's what drew me away from that palette. But I want to maybe go onto Nomad's website and look again to see if there would be anything that jumps out to me, because I really do want to try their formula, but this one's not going to be for me because it is so blue heavy, and even the green row leans more teal, and so that's not necessarily something that I love for my preferences with how I do eyeshadow. But I'm going to be very interested to see people do looks with these because it looks like there's some duochromes in there and it looks beautiful. So it looks like that wraps up the makeup releases up until I'm filming this on the 26th. So through the 26th of March. The last thing here on Trend Moods page is the reminder about the Sephora VIB sale. And so, like I said, I already have some things in my cart that I'm going to end up picking up in April. But overall, there's a few things that I'm looking at, a lot of things that I can pass over. I think I'm at the point where my collection, I feel comfortable with what I have. I don't need to bring in a whole lot to satisfy the need of wanting a certain look. I feel like I can go into my own collection and get that. And that's a really good feeling for me to be having right now. And I hope that, watching me talk myself out of things and reminding myself that I do have things in my collection that I can use, I hope that maybe has helped you in some way. I love looking at Trend Moods page. I love seeing all the new stuff that's coming out. I love seeing some innovation in these brands, but overall, there are a lot of things that I just don't need, and that's okay. I hope that you enjoyed. I'm going to link some videos down below. I hope you subscribe, stick around, like, drop some comments down below about what you're thinking about buying. If you picked up anything from 21 Days of Beauty, give me some product recommendations down below. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in my next one.